This is what's interesting. The sketch itself, if you watch the whole sketch, I actually didn't think it was bad. Yeah. Like, there's a part with Bert and Ernie that is actually very funny. Like, I'm looking at the writing, and I'm going into it defensive of Joe. You know what I mean? You know Joe's my guy, so if anybody's being critical of Joe, I'm like, man, fuck you, right? Yeah. The guy did so much for me, so obviously. But I watched the whole thing, and I was like, okay, there's a couple funny moments. The Joe thing sucks. There's no joke.
It's
the
really
joke
bad.
is, I take horse medicine, which we already disproved. Yeah. It's like that would have worked the week it came out. Even maybe
the shit he's eating, just make it elk. Like, make it a little bit funnier of a hacky joke.
But you see what I'm saying about specifically, like, it's just dated. Like, bro, I don't know if Che's this much of a mastermind, but part of me thought like he did that shit on purpose.
Here's what's interesting.
Write a shitty Joe sketch, right? You're going to have all the people who fuck with and defend Joe shit on that. The whole internet's going to start talking. They don't have Trump to criticize anymore, right? So you can't go after Trump. You need the new version of that. You need the new divisive guy. The new divisive guy now, CNN is trying to do it, is Joe. You make the show about Joe, and then you make it, if he's a true mastermind,
right?
You make it criticizable.
Yeah, unfair.
You make it unfair.
If it's a super funny, pointed like parody, then everyone goes, "Oh yeah, that was funny."
If it's hilarious, you got to give it up. It doesn't make any news. If it's not, if it's straight, kind of hacky,
right?
Like, trust me, if Che's on stage, that's not the joke he's making about horse dewormer.
Yeah, no way.
And maybe I say this because I think he's truly a great comedic mind.
Yeah.
I know for a fact that's not the joke.
Yeah.
There's no fucking way.
To your point, SNL, that's the 47 seconds they put online on Twitter. Tim Dillon is responding to a tweet that SNL put out. So that's where I'm like, because I was like, before you said that, I was like, why would SNL put that out? That's the 47 seconds you wanted out? Maybe you're right. Maybe it is. This will get everybody talking about us. It puts us back in the spotlight as SNL. You always need people talking about you. And then if you're Che, you're like, yeah, cool. When comics go at it, I'm gonna use that. Yeah. And I get to promote my shit.
Yeah. That is if he's a mastermind. Now, look, best case scenario is, or like most genius chess move is doing it and leaking it on purpose, or specifically choosing it on purpose. Yeah. Worst case is they just need people to talk about the show. And if you talk about the motherfucking man who's in charge right now, Joe, there's going to have a conversation. We're having a conversation about it right now. Yeah. We talking about that shit? Now, we were talking a little about this yesterday. You had an interesting point about like both of their potential sensitivities. Mm-hmm. And I thought you'd speak on it a little bit more. I thought it was interesting.
So I guess the point that I was trying to extrapolate is like Tim is so much made outside of the industry, and his whole audience is just basically like almost grassroots, and it exists behind Patreon, and it's like all his thing. He has full ownership. Whereas Che was like brought into this pre-existing institution and this system, and he's just a part of it. Yes. And so a lot of his fans, I think, initially probably came from SNL that were fans of SNL and then became fans of him. Right. So he has to like sort of moderate public perception a lot more because he's been grandfathered into this pre-existing system. Whereas Tim is sort of outside of that criticism from like critics and like reviewers and articles and shit like that because he already has such like a prominent like diehard fan base.
So basically, in other words, like, Che can get fired. Right. And his fans came to him through the show and the institution. Right. So they're not going to stop watching the institution. Right. They're not going to stop being SNL fans. Mm-hmm. Right? Matter of fact, if Che don't give them anything new, they might stop being Che fans. So Che is locked to the institution.
And he's got his fans that he got outside of that. And some will rock with him if he leaves or gets fired.
But much less than the mountain of fans that are watching SNL. And we are critical of SNL's numbers, but it's still a very big popular show. There's no question, right? So I understand why he has to, and I think this is what Mark's saying, why he has to respond to public criticism more, because public criticism is what could get him fired. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, him and Shane are in very different situations, but public criticism is the reason why Shane's not on the show. Yeah. Public criticism is probably the reason why everybody who's been fired off the show is fired off the show. Yeah. A few sketches come out, people are like, yeah, that person's not that funny. And then Lauren's like, I guess that person ain't that fucking funny. Yeah. Yeah. Adios, see you later. So you got to manage public perception. If someone's coming at you, you got to make them radioactive or cut their legs out. Yeah. That person has a criticism that people seem to agree with. Mm-hmm. You got to be like, but why is this person able to critique? Yeah. You're going to listen to this guy? Yeah. You got to assassinate the character. It's like a Me Too. You know what I mean? Like, if this girl's saying you did some shit, you got to go Portnoy. Yeah. You know what I mean? Buy the champagne bottles, engrave them.
You got to go at the funny.
You got to go at it. Yeah. You got to go at the validity. Yep. Right? Yeah. So So I understand, and I thought that was really a poignant observation. And whereas Tim, on the other end, is used to criticism of him, but doesn't have to care as much as long as that criticism isn't coming from his fans.
Yeah, as long as his fans are appeased, he can't get fired.
Yeah, I didn't know that Miles had the little headphones in, and it sounded like he had his hand over his ears and he's bending down, and I was like, am I so boring that you have a headache? Like that's
yeah, you got a migraine.
Like
dude.
literally, he was bent over like this. Like I cannot listen to another fucking word of this guy speak. And then he took his hands off, and then thank God there were like little AirPods in.
Yeah.
Okay, Miles, you almost really made me feel horrible right there. I felt like Michael Che responding to Tim Dillon tweets here. But
Miles isn't funny.
Yeah. But so you understand why Che is reacting oftentimes to these critics, etc. Now, I assume that he's doing that for game.
Yeah.
I assume he knows he could rile up the internet, and when it's time to rile up the internet about something that he has coming out, maybe it's his show, maybe it's a special, maybe it's some project, maybe it's a tour that he's doing, something, I think he knows how to engage and do that.
Right.
And I think that's a sophisticated chess move from a guy who doesn't have a mouthpiece to really promote his stuff.
He also has the shield of the institution. So, like, people can criticize SNL, and he can either just not take the bait, be like, yeah, that's SNL, I wasn't involved, whatever. Or if they do criticize SNL, all of a sudden he can make it personal and be like, no, that's my thing that you're coming at. Because Tim never said anything about Che.
But if you're saying that the show is hack stuff and he's the head writer, it's going to reflect ultimately on him.
But he can choose to not opt in. Like, if you're coming at him going like, yo, Michael Che is the worst, whatever, then you kind of have to respond.
If somebody shits on Flagrant 2, I want to respond.
Right.
Yeah, but you're much more intimately. This is Andrew Schultz's Flagrant 2. It's not Michael Che's SNL.
But if he's the responsible party for the writing on the show, if he's the one that greenlights all the things,
it's like a sub. Process. It's like responding to a sub as a rapper. You don't have to respond to a sub. He didn't say Michael Che's an unfunny hack.
Son, sorry to cut you, but if somebody shits on Rockefeller Records, Jay-Z got to feel a way about
Jay-Z
that.
made Rockefeller.
Jay-Z's the owner. Him and Dame founded that shit.
That's a good point.
He created it.
It's like Mem Bleak being like, yo, how fucking dare you come at Rock? And they're probably criticizing Mem in particular, but point is,
I see what you're saying. There's a little bit more distance, but you're still going to personalize something that
you can personalize it
that you are 100% tied to. For example, if the biggest thing you're known for is this institution, and you take responsibility for what's happening in the institution, even if the institution supersedes you, that's the biggest thing you're known. If someone shits on India.
Do
you know what I'm saying? Like, if someone shits on my favorite basketball team, I'm defensive. Right? Like, we get defensive over the things that we relate to.
But I haven't been spending 5 years saying I'm going to leave India. This is my last year on India.
Right.
You know what I mean? I think it's probably marketing. And we say this all the time. If somebody takes a little shot, it's like, yo, that guy's not even worth it. Don't respond. We say that to each other. This guy's not worth it. That's not worth it. Why would you get into that? But it is worth it if you got some shit to promote. It's very worth it.
Yeah.
It's very worth it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting.
I bring that up just to say he's positioned in a cool way where he can either choose to opt in or choose to not engage.
Yeah.
And he took this time to engage.
You know what's funny is the way that he did it. Now, I know Che's plugged in. He's a comic, so he has to know what's happening in the world, and he has to know the shifting of the guard and how, like, you know, traditional TV shows aren't really doing what they used to do. They're not doing that for people's careers, etc. And I thought it was a little wild to say the shit about and again, you know, Tim's opened it up with the hacks, but I thought it was a little wild to say he's a failed comic because, like, how do you judge the success of a comic?
Yeah.
Right? Like,
well, sorry. He's going at, so Dillon went at Che's material. At the end of the day, that's something Che wrote, head writer, went at his material. Che's going at Dillon's material right back at him, saying, don't get fresh, Tim. You're not a comic like I'm a comic. That's not to say he's not going at his audiences.
What makes someone a successful comic?
I'm saying it's also unfair to say
it's Che saying you're not a good writer, basically.
Well, say that because what makes somebody a successful comic, right? Like, there are people that we might not appreciate their comedy.
I agree.
It was the Muppet guy,
Jeff Dunham.
Yeah,
Jeff Dunham.
But
fired.
The guy is doing arenas.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I don't know if Dice was like the most clever writer or something.
Exactly.
But he fucking did MSG.
MSG,
like
right?
Comics.
So it's like there are different versions of stand-up. We all have the types of stand-up that we like, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like an extremist. You know what I mean when it comes to that shit.
Yeah.
I'm Malcolm.
Yeah.
You know, like I know I'm Martin when it comes to certain things, but I'm Malcolm when it comes to this stand-up shit.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like I'm not very open-minded about the stand-up that I don't love.
Right.
Right? But that doesn't mean that there aren't these motherfuckers that are out here doing huge tours, killing it. Yeah. Those people are successful as a comic.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, and this is the tough thing, I think, for a lot of industry folks, and I think this is something that Tim like tapped in on that is probably painful. I don't know. I can't decide how someone feels if they're upset. But like when Tim was talking about selling tickets and selling more tickets, and it's just like there's one metric that you can really tell if people fuck with you or not. And that's if they leave their house to see you.
Yeah.
The industry can inflate people and make us think that they're superstars and shit like that.
They can inflate the bank account.
They can inflate the bank. Oh, absolutely. But in terms of stand-up comedy, doing comedy in front of people, that is the game. You do a special one every few years. The game is going out in front of people. Do people leave their house, get a babysitter, get a fucking Uber, put on a nice outfit, buy some drinks, food to come see you? That is to me the one true metric if you are succeeding in that craft.
And it can drive you crazy as a comedy purist or even a music purist in the music industry to see guys who you don't find as pure selling wild tickets more than you.
Can I be honest with you?
Huh?
My understanding is Lil Nas X can't sell 4,000 tickets in a market. Lil Nas X is one of the biggest music stars on the planet.
Yeah.
My understanding from Music Insider, I'll keep that quiet, is he can't do 4,000 tickets. Now, that is as industry as you can get, right?
Yeah.
Like Lil Nas X is part of the fabric. He's part of the industry pushing him, getting radio play, all this kind of stuff, and dope stuff, and brilliant at working Instagram and TikTok, and brilliant at marketing. Like the songs are fire too. I fucks with it. But if you're not moving more than 4,000 tickets, how much do people really fuck with you?
Yeah.
But that's tricky when it comes to comedy, though.
Go.
You know what I mean? Because, like, for example, Patrice O'Neal was, like, legendary comic, your favorite, but wasn't
not very successful.
Like, he was pretty successful, but
not very successful.
Right. He wasn't doing, like, theaters.
Chris Rock said that shit right to his face on Opie and Anthony.
Yeah, that was a fucking...
This is one of the most legendary... Go look at this up right now on YouTube if you can. And it was real talk. And I imagine nobody talked to Patrice like this.
Yeah.
But Chris literally told him, he's like, bro, nobody here is funnier than you. They're all sitting down. I think it was like Norton.
This is a
Opie
painful
and
Anthony,
listen, and then Chris Rock. And Chris Rock was, I guess, doing the Opie and Anthony show maybe to promote some dates or something like that. And he goes, nobody here is funnier than you. But are your shows sold out this weekend? How many shows are you doing this weekend?
What shows are you doing? What club are you at?
How many people are in the club? Like he started bringing up numbers. Like, who's coming out to see you? Nobody here is funny, so you can keep doing all this shit about like how real you want to do, you don't want to do the industry, all that kind of stuff. And I think Chris Rock said something, goes, I just don't want to do morning radio.
Yeah.
Like that's how successful I want to be. Like I don't even want to be here.
Yeah.
But he like laid it down right in front of him.
Yeah.
And this was at a time like Patrice would thrive in a time like right now. Because he would have podcasts. I mean, he did have one earlier, but it wasn't part of the culture. But like he would thrive where you could just give him to the people and like takes every single day and he would fucking kill. But at that time, you had to play the game.
Yeah.
Because that was the only way to get in front of people.
And Chris told him, when I had Everybody Hates Chris, I wanted you to play young Chris's dad.
Oh, yeah.
I wanted you, but you weren't as professional as Terry Crews. I knew Terry would be more willing to listen, easier to work with.
He didn't know the lines.
And you didn't know the lines. He tells him, like, I wanted to give it to you, and you fucked it up. And I looked at this guy who wasn't as funny, but was more professional, and that's who I went with. It's a fucking...
This is my GOAT.
Painful listen.
Right.
This is my GOAT. But I can recognize that there's a difference in success.
Right, but that doesn't necessarily take away from his ability as a comic.
That's true, but some people hate his comedy. Right? Because comedy is obviously going to be subjective. Right?
And it's tough for Patrice to hate on another comic who's outselling him because that comic could just go, where are you at this weekend? Comics? 270? Cool, I'm going to be at Gramercy. Or I'm going to be at fucking The Beacon or Radio City. Well, I'll see you there.
Right.
You want a ticket to get backstage? I'll let you go.
It makes sense. I mean, it's a trump card, certainly, but like I don't know if that's necessarily the only metric you can look at.
No. There's not one metric that you can look at in terms of success.
Not
everybody wants to be that successful. Like success is also something that has to do with your own career.
Yeah.
Right? Like maybe success for you is just not having a day job.
Right.
And that's just what you work for, and like being able to do spots at the Cellar in New York Comedy
There's
Club.
a lot of comics that's all they want to do.
That's all they want to do, right? And that's great because that's success for them. I'm talking about success in the grand scheme of things in terms of like who are like the top 20 touring comedians. And at the end of the day, whether you like it or not, like if we're just going to be honest as comics, like we all know who's on that list.
Yeah, we do. 100%.
And we all want to be on that. Nobody gets in this game going, I never want to do a theater.
Yeah.
I never want to do Madison Square Garden. No comic has ever fucking said that in history. They might do it and go, it's not as fun as the clubs, but you want to know that you walked away from it.
Yeah.
Not that you could never do it.
Yeah.
And those are different things.
And you can take shots at guys who are selling crazy tickets and be like, he does this, that's not that great. But on a binary funny, not funny, if you're selling out theaters, I got to give you funny. I cannot say you're a failed comedian.
And
I think that's true.
I'm going to keep it a buck. If you're doing theaters for a while, that's where you got to give it up. Everybody gets one run. There are comics that might get one run, and then people go see it, and then the jig is up.
Yeah.
It was almost like they paid for a meet and greet.
Yeah.
But you a motherfucker like Jim Gaffigan, Brian Regan.
Fucking legends, dude.
These guys have been doing theaters for decades. That means the people come out and they're like, this was a sensational performance.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep coming out.
Yeah.
Like, bro, the reason why I want our show to be the most incredible experience that people have had is because that's the longevity. Like these people, there's comics that like they get famous and they just want to catch a lick and they do one round of touring and the next round ain't like that. We've been very lucky that like every time we go back on tour, it's been a double up. That goes back from like me performing for 15 fucking people in Minneapolis, Minnesota. And the next time comes, okay, there's 50. And I come back there, okay, we got 150. The next time, oh shit, we're doing a theater here. It's got to keep on building. Yeah. Because if it's not keep on building, that's what's happening.
Right.
That is showing, hey, maybe the comedy isn't there.
Yeah.
But in terms of people leaving their house to go see you, I think that's a metric of success.
Yeah.
I think it's a metric of success.
Yeah. And also, I mean, you can say you don't care about the Patreon number, but if you're making 188,000, whatever it is, 190,000, that's a lot of fucking people that are saying, I want to pay to hear this guy.
Yeah.
So I guess you can say he's a failed stand-up comic. I know. I guess you say he's not if he's a failed. But when you add that with I'm selling out theaters and the fucking line that's kind of rough is I've sold more tickets than you ever have. I am selling right now more tickets than you ever have. It's like, yeah, man, I can't really knock it anymore. I can think I'm a funnier comic than you. You might be,
if that's the case, then it's undeniable. More people want to see. If that's the case, I don't know if that's the case, but if that is the case, more people want to go see Tim Dillon do stand-up than Michael Che. I don't know that's true. I don't know who sells more tickets, Michael Che or Tim Dillon.
True.
All I know is that we sell more tickets than both of those losers.
You guys both lack success. And
when we say we mean Andrew.
Yeah, that's what we mean.
Yeah.
But we speak in we's over here. Yeah. Okay, step it up, both.
I'll be at Zany's after Thanksgiving. You guys want to come through?
And director hated me.
No, stop beefing, y'all. We love both of you, and